very interesting, especially your story and what you had to recently, overcome. And I know we'll get into that, later in the conversation. But I want to jump into because it's always fascinating to talk to athletes that play another sport in another country, but just to kind of get a gauge of their mentality, but even their backstory, how they fell in love, with our American sport. So, if you could kind of share with everyone where you're from and the sport that you play, and then we can kind of build from there if you don't mind.
So I'm from Vienna, Austria, and my whole family is a basketball family. So I've been playing since I was like 5. Like when I was young, I didn't even think about this. Like, because it's an American sport. But then as soon as I grew older, I realized like most people, like from my country or from a lot of people in general in Europe, from Europe, they go to the US for college basketball. So it was like soon like it turned into a goal that I want to play college basketball at one point. And but yeah, I've been in the gym since I was like 5. Like I said, my dad is a basketball player, and like my sisters, they all play. So it was
So you're technically born with a basketball in your hand.
too much.
So, all right, with that being said, not saying that's all you know, because I know you have a lot of other experiences, but like, what's that like coming up in a basketball family? Did you feel that it was pressure or it was just as normal as how the average family will say, hey, you go to school and you learn math and reading?
um, well, I don't think me personally I felt the pressure that much. Um, but I mean, it was always just my whole family would come to all the games. They would all watch. Everybody would watch the live streams if me or my sister played somewhere else. So it was definitely something that moments it felt like okay, basketball is like a big part of our family. And sometimes I had moments where I was like, okay, I wish that we could just have a talk without even like knowing you would be analyzed about what you did in the game before and stuff like that. So it's definitely like a thing when it's like it's so much in your family that it automatically turns a little bit into an analyzation like as soon as anybody plays a game.
You know what? That's interesting that you said that because although you get a lot of support, right? People show up to your game or watch it, but it's not necessarily they're cheering. They're like, okay, why didn't she set this pick on this play right here? Why she? So you like sometimes you just want to come home and then people say, hey, good job. That's
Yeah.
great. But now you got to damn near watch film, right? With the family.
And at the end of the day, I do know that they just want the best for me. So like I'm like very happy with my family and the whole like support I get from them. But it's just like still like it's my mind also that I know that they know about basketball, so I know that they're gonna see it with different eyes than if I had like parents who wouldn't know.
No, that's totally fair. So it's interesting, and I got a little bit of a connection with Austria in basketball as well. So at the high school that I attended to, we had an Austrian player on our team named Thaddeus. This dude was so advanced from a skill set,
Mm-hmm.
right? So young, and it was interesting. He was giving us Americans a lot of our credit because our just pure, athleticism, but we were in awe with him how developed he was from a skill set. Not to mention he was an athlete too. He was about 6'5", about 220. That's huge for a high schooler. And he was like a sophomore at the time, dude. And he was dunking just like us out the gym. But we just we respected his skill set. So if you could kind of take us to this journey, like and what I'm starting to see, and you can attest to this about, European basketball players being so fundamentally sound. What's behind that? Why is that?
I don't know, but like in the US, like people are very athletic in general, and I
Mm.
think more on like the basics because maybe because we're not that athletic or I don't know why, but it's just like a lot of focus on also team basketball. And that's one thing when I came to the US, I felt like if you had the ball in your hand, you're gonna have to create for yourself or do something because like I mean you get used to it. In Europe, it's like so much about an extra pass, extra pass, extra pass. That's just like such a different game in a sense. And also with like the shot clock, we have like 24 seconds from like since you're like under 14, you have to like make sure you play like just a different game. And then when I came to the US and I watched high school basketball and like I saw like they took like a whole minute shoot, and I was just like, what is going Uh,
So are you saying that our amateurs should be already playing with a shot clock?
I don't. I like preferred watching when the game was a bit faster. Um, and then what one thing I realized also when I got to college that like defensively, I feel like we did like in Europe, like people had more like a fundamental like defense. Like we knew where we had to
Yeah.
stand, all that. In the US, it was more like, are you quick enough to get the ball, or like, can you jump high enough to block? It was not as much like I don't know how to put it in words, but
No, I get it. You guys were more strategic about positioning, passing, the flow of the game. Not saying we weren't in the States, but we, like you said, sometimes you overlook things, the small things when you're so athletically gifted and you can kind of make up in those areas, which is I totally understand. But to have a long, prosperous career, at some point you better learn the fundamentals and learn how to master them quick. And I think that's might be one of the reasons why we're starting to see more European dominance and on the basketball scene. So what I want to understand with you is when did you identify that like, hey, I'm actually good at this sport and I can actually take this to the next level?
um, I would say probably yeah. It started when you were like 12, 13, and you realize, okay, like you started playing with boys when you were under 10, and then just realize, okay, like there's not that much competition for like girls in Austria basketball. And then you start to compete internationally, play some games against other countries, and you realize you can compete. And then you see that probably if you stayed in Austria, you wouldn't be able to like, grow as a player. That usually happens, I would say, for most people around when they're like 14, 15, when they can see that they have the talent to go overseas or go to a different place.
That makes sense. And so because you were so well developed, because of just your family background, was that a big moment for you, or you just kind of was like, all right, well, this is just part of the process. What's next?
Well, I went to Germany first for a year after high school in Austria. And I mean, it was a big thing. And I just like always appreciated it that because of basketball, I'm able to travel and to there's but yeah, since it was always a goal, I was like, all right, I'm doing it. Next thing. Like I tried to not overthink it because it is like a cool thing to go when you're like 17, 18 years old to the other side of the world and like leave your
Yeah,
family and you don't never know how you're gonna like it and all that.
exactly. No, you're totally right. Is are you familiar with with the term athletic identity?
Not 100%,
Okay,
no.
it's cool. All right, I'll break it down because I got a question based upon that. So, athletic identity is is a psychological effect where athletes pretty much only are able to see themselves as athletes. So, they're gauged their accomplishments, who they are, based off of the sport that they play. So, we're clear on the basics. Did you ever see yourself developing athletic identity?
I definitely I got to that point, yes, and I realized that after my accident, that I did feel some of that. uh, yeah, that was a big.
Yeah, and I asked that because, like I said, just the background in your family. I understand, like you came up in it so naturally, but then it's like, is it easy to get lost in the like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do for a large portion of my life, or did you ever like sit back and be like, all right, what else am I passionate about, or what else can I do, or what are other cool things about me?
I mean, I did always do other things too. Like I played other sports, and I was always like had a social life and all that. And I honestly think that things more because I love basketball so much. It was not because my family was like a basketball family that they were like basketball is all that matters. Because we did other stuff. We played instruments. We did other stuff. It was more just like me. I fell in love with the game so much that I wanted to just like play every day. And then like I was also mad at myself when I played bad or this. Like it's easy to start like identifying yourself as just a basketball player. So I don't think that was because of my basketball family. I mean, it definitely probably pushed me a little bit in that direction, but I never saw that in a negative way or like it was never negatively impacted. Um, at least I haven't realized.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So if you could kind of like take us through the journey, because I know you mentioned briefly that you've already had, at a very young age, you got the opportunity to play in different areas, different countries. So, you know, you started off very, very young, five, And then, of course, I know you guys' high school and middle school system is different from how it is in the States, but kind of take us on that journey of, where you started and all the way to where you're at now, as a professional.
Yeah, so in Europe, it's like you play in clubs. You don't play at your school. So that's what I did my whole life from like 5 up until the point where I left. And I started to play with like the first league team at home when I was a teenager before I went to go and leave the country. Um, but it, like I said, basketball in Austria is not where basketball in other European countries is at, or in the States, obviously. It's just more, you play it more for fun, and they're trying to build the first league, and I think we're on a good way to like build something in Austria, but it's still just not there yet. So that's why I was like, all right, I want to go to the US, but I didn't really know that much about college basketball at that point. So I met people from Germany, and I was like, okay, let's go there for a year because basketball in Germany is better than it is in
Yeah,
Austria.
it's a big deal out there.
So I was
Definitely.
right, let's do that. And I had an interesting experience there because I practiced with the first division team. I was like 17, and I was not ready to play first league team. So I also played with like second team, and I just had a rough time adjusting to the professional life because I came to a new city, and like it was like a small city, and the players from the first team were all professionals in their 20s, so I didn't relate to them as much as I would have to like people in my age. And the girls in my age, they pretty much all had their own life, and just it was like I was like in between, and I struggled with the fact of just practicing twice a day, being somewhere where I don't have my friends, my family, and it was. But it really prepared me well for then going to the States, because then I came to the States and everybody was in the same boat as I was, and there were so many athletes, international people from everywhere. So it was like, and I always thought back, okay, you survived 3 years in Germany, like this is easy for you. And then yeah, after playing that year in Germany, I also think like I grew as a basketball player, and then I was like, all right. I had a friend playing in Florida. So she was like, "You want to come play here? We need a point guard." I was like, "Yeah, sure." And then, yeah, I had an amazing time. I loved my years in Florida. I was there 6 years in total, and it was an amazing time.
Wait, time out, time out. You got an opportunity to play in Florida based on a relationship like, hey, we're missing a guard. Hey, we need somebody. You was like, all right, I'll give it a shot.
Pretty much, yeah. Because I still didn't really know what to do, and I was never big on I want to go to a big school because like I didn't even know anything about that stuff. And then because I feel like now everybody's talking about it a lot more. Like over the last years, like even college basketball, just in Austria, people talk about it way more than they did years before. So back then, like nobody knew and didn't know what all the leagues are, like all that different stuff. So I was just like always had in my mind I want to go. And then this friend, she has been playing there for years, and she just texted once like, "We need a." And I talked to the coach.
Well, that's good to have good friends. So it seems like your whole mentality was like, hey, I just want to play the sport wherever the sport lands me, whatever state, whatever country, whatever school, then I'll take it from there. But now as you look back, you're starting to realize like, oh, this sport has taken me pretty much all over the world. I met, amazing people and got these opportunities. That's awesome to be able to look at it that way. That's why I'm always fascinated with people from other countries that get the opportunity to travel. Like I said, my background is football, and I know that the sport is starting to expand, but we never got really any opportunities to play the sport outside of the states.
Yeah,
I know we have a Canadian league, but that's usually once you hit the professionals level. If you don't get an opportunity to play at the NFL, although I did have a friend who played in Australia, but it wasn't a league. I believe it was kind of like an all-star tournament, but he was there for like a couple weeks. He said it was an experience of a lifetime, but we don't get that opportunity in that sport. And hopefully that changes. I think globally all of us should be playing each other's sports, and getting that opportunity.
yeah.
Okay. So you got a chance, you played in Florida. What school was that?
First, I played at Florida Southern College, and then
Yeah.
I trained at Southeastern University.
Okay. Now, and as you're playing, you're experiencing all these things. You're experiencing different styles of play, and you're also experiencing different cultures
Mhm.
as well. Take us on that journey, because if I'm not mistaken, is Southern Florida, Southern Florida, is that a HBCU?
No, Florida Southern. No,
Okay.
it's um, it was actually like a lot of different internationals. So
Okay.
it was it was cool. Like because I didn't know like how it is gonna be. Like I've never even visited the US before, so I was super curious. Because like of course like in Europe you have like people have before, so like they tell you like their experiences from traveling there and all that. So, but you never know until you're there, how you vibe with the environment and the people and everything. But I also think like being at a school, it is you don't get the real experience. But I was surrounded by so many Europeans and South Americans and not like just US Americans. Um, but like I loved it. Also like the playing style because we had so many Europeans was in like it changed every year. But like in the beginning, like I told you before, it was kind of like a little bit hard to get adjusted to a different playing style. But also like the physical part, I would say was a big thing because back home, I felt, for example, like if you guard someone in defense, like they wouldn't call immediately a foul back home. But then I got to the States and they would just like you were not allowed to have your hand on the person, and like it was like so many things you had to like readjust from
Yeah.
your game.
And we got a little bit softer over here in the States. We used to be a lot more physical way back in the day, but we kind of softened this thing up. So it seems like, and let me know if I'm wrong, but it seems like your, I don't even want to say struggles, but growing pains to adjust coming to play in the States wasn't necessarily a culture shock. It was more of just adjusting to the playing style.
Well, I had culture shocks as well, but
Oh, okay.
but no, the playing style was also like a big part of it.
Nice. And how was school? Because I mean, you're still an amateur, so you had to go to school. How was it adjusting from a school standpoint?
Well, school was very easy for me because I felt like most of the things I had to learn in college, I already learned in high school back then. Like it was like, and then I talked to other Europeans, and they were like, they kind of felt the same. Especially like in your first year in the States, like you take a lot of classes from different subjects. Like I had to take math, this that. Although I wanted to study psychology, so like I learned things in maths where I'm like I learned that like 3 years ago. So it was kind of like it made it easier because you have to spend so much time studying.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it was interesting because like at home you do your bachelor's in most cases in 3 years. So I knew okay if you have to do it there in 4 years, it's probably just like made it like a little bit easier to like just okay.
Oh, hey, us Americans, we got to step it up on the education tip.
Well,
it's it's all good. No, I get it. I totally get it.
I I love it sometimes because back home you have to in when you go to university you have to study for 3 months and then you have to
Mhm.
write a huge exam, for example. And in the States you just had like a small little test every week, which it felt like it was easier, but at the end of the day you might still know the same things. You just it's just a different approach to learning. So in some
Correct.
way I really liked it also. It was
That's
just yeah, just like different. I don't know.
that's fair. That's fair. So I got to ask you then, what American food did you end up falling in love with?
Say that again.
What American dish did you end up falling in love with?
Well, I'm vegetarian, so I don't know.
Oh man. Okay. Well, first of all, that's a good thing. You're vegetarian. You want to eat healthy, but it's so many good unhealthy choices
I know.
for you to choose from.
I wasn't vegetarian, so
Uh,
I enjoyed the food more when I wasn't vegetarian because then, like you said, all the places like Chick-fil-A or places like that I used to like, but then as soon as I got vegetarian, my options kind of like went down.
So, okay, so you got a chance. So you recently vegetarian. Have you seen? Because I've always been debating. My brother's vegetarian, and he
Okay.
was an athlete as well. He played basketball, and I still eat meat. I just don't. I'm not as unhealthy as I used to, as far as in like all the fried foods and processed, but I still eat meat. Have you been able, since you changed your diet, have you been able to see a significant shift, performance wise and even health wise?
I cannot say with 100% it is because I turned vegetarian, but I do feel like very good with how I feel my body and what I put in my body. I'm not having the feeling I'm lacking anything. And I people would always tell me like if you stop eating meat, like people who supported it, they were like you might feel like lighter and faster and like I cannot say like 100% like oh my god yes I feel so much lighter than I did before because I honestly don't remember how I always felt fine with how I feel my body, but I definitely feel good about it and I would not eat meat again because yeah, I don't know. It feels good how I nourish my body. So
So you feel like you're not missing out. You don't see yourself going coming back.
no,
Shout out to you. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so I want to shift gears a little bit, and because you've experienced something that pretty traumatic, and usually it will sit people down, and not allow them the privilege of being able to play. But you're currently still playing now. If you can kind of take us through, that moment that you were in the accident, and how you were able to successfully transition and overcome that. If you can kind of share that story with us.
yeah, of course. So that was in September 2021. I was like just about to start my senior year in college, and I was like feeling so good. I played a tournament with my 3x3 national team in Canada, like in preseason. It was right before the college season started, and I flew back at the peak of my. That's how it felt, and yeah, then one moment to the other moment, I like everything changed. Um, so I was in this car accident. It was on the highway. The car flipped a few times. I flew out of the car, broke majority of my bones, including my skull, my neck, my knee, everything. I don't remember it because my memory just, I guess, trying to protect me from
Yeah.
about that. Um, and yeah, from like I was in medical induced coma for a few days. I like didn't know if I was gonna be able to walk again. The doctors didn't know if I was gonna have brain damage, and like I didn't even realize all that in the first days, obviously. But it was just like a very rough time and recovery process. But in my mind, it was always like I want to play again, and I want to do all the things again. Like I don't want to change my whole life. And I always knew like I felt it inside that if I wanted to do it, if my mind was telling me, okay, just do it, like who is gonna stop me? So yeah, I made my way back to the court.
It's interesting because you mentioned something that stood out to me. The unfortunate circumstances happened at a peak moment of your life when you felt that everything was going well. You just finished college, you're ready to go to the next phase of your career, and then like this happens. When that happened, when you finally recovered and you realized, like, okay, one, I'm alive. Two, I will be able to walk again and possibly play, maybe depending on how this goes. Where were you mentally? Were you optimistic? Were you in a depressed stage? Where were you?
Well, I was very optimistic from the start, but it is hard when you have doctors that tell you we don't know. When you have your like athletic trainers around you, be like, I don't know how like if you're gonna be as good as before, like we don't know. But in my mind, I was like, what are you talking? Like if I want to do it, like why would I not be able to do it? Like I was really like for 90%, I was so optimistic and I would just like think it's funny how other people would doubt that, even in a sense. And they didn't even mean it in a negative way. Obviously, they just wanted to protect me, and they literally didn't know because my injuries were so severe.
Yeah.
Um, but of course, you have bad moments. Like, of course, I had times when like surgeries kept going on for like 2 years, and I was like, when is this gonna end? Like, I was frustrated. That's where I just were like, why did this happen to me? And I mean, I was like, my whole body was so impacted by it that like my body and my mind, they were both so confused. They were like what happened? Why did this happen? And I was like
Oh,
scared I was never gonna be able to drive again. I was scared I was never gonna be able to do anything fun again. I was just like, I had moments like I was in really strong pain meds, and it's when they like after a few hours they didn't like work as well anymore. I felt how like the anxiety came to me, and I just felt like super scared, and then like they gave it to me again, and I felt like, okay, I'm at peace again. But I knew that was a drug helping me to be in that state.
Yeah.
And when I finally like had to actually get off that medication, it was also rough because like feel that my body still needs it, but
Right.
I knew I had to force myself to be okay not taking it. And then I would get like really like social anxiety when I was around people. I would be like, because I was not myself. I was like, I did not feel like myself because I couldn't walk, I couldn't play basketball, I couldn't do anything that a normal, healthy human being could be doing. So I felt super lost and just confused at times. So
So it sounds like damn near like your body had to do a reset again. Because
yeah,
you said you mentally they just weren't syncing up. Like your mind would tell you to do something, the body's not doing it. But then because you're an athlete and you're so driven, you're like, I gotta get back on because there's an opportunity. But your body's like, wait a minute, we still gotta process this. Oh my gosh, that's a lot. And how long was this process, your recovery process?
like the first time I stepped on a court again to actually compete was 1.5 years after.
Okay,
Yeah,
1.5 years.
1.5 years. Yeah.
And then how long did it take for you to walk again?
Well, I was 2 weeks in the hospital, and that was during COVID times. So it was like my family flew over to help me out. Like hard for them to come over because of COVID, and I just remember it was just I was so happy that they were there. They obviously supported me so much back then. Um, so I was like really driven to like walk again as soon as possible because I think I was wanted to show them I'm fine. They could leave again. Like I'm good. I don't have to be in the hospital anymore. And then I started walking with a walker. I can't remember when exactly, like 1.5 weeks, one after, but like everything was hard to do. Like I couldn't even like go to the bathroom by myself. I couldn't do nothing. Like even when I was able to walk, I might have been able to like take a few steps, but sitting down and standing up, I couldn't do by myself. So I always depended on other people, and that's like a big part when I lost like my like lost my like my self identity. Like I felt like a whole
Yeah.
new that it was like a reset. Like I always felt like in a way that I died and I was born again.
Yeah.
Like, many times because I would watch myself play when I was in the hospital bed and I'm like, who is this person? She felt like a stranger. It was the weirdest feeling ever. And yeah, it got better. Like I wouldn't say like I completely changed, but my mindset has shifted so much since that accident that I do feel a little bit a small part of me like died and was like born in like a more mature, like wise.
I get exactly what you're saying. That experience, I mean, fortunately, but unfortunately, sometimes when we go through those experiences, that is where we kind of mature and look at life from a different lens. Because, like I said, although you had experienced so much coming up, we're still looking at ourselves as, hey, I'm an athlete, and I can do this forever. It can never be taken away from me. You know what I mean? And just like that, it can happen. I'm glad that you had, the support system that you had, but how how was that process? Now you're back to walking, right? And even kind of working out a little bit. Were you nervous of being able to be cleared again to play?
Honestly, no, because it was not a basketball injury. So I wasn't scared to like jump or run on the court because I never did anything to my body before the accident. Like I never tore any ligament, broke any bones. Like I had so much trust in my body that I was able to do all that to come back and to be like fine to go on the court again. I was not scared. Like I remember my teammates from national team telling me back then, like they were scared in the first practice. They were like, I didn't know how to touch me.
You're like Bubble Girl. They was afraid to bump into you. They thought you was gonna break down, huh?
And so like pushing us around, so we're like, all right, I guess she's fine. So yeah,
that that's interesting how the brain works because it's like we can have a small injury in sports and it can affect us on our recovery and being able to move again. But you literally was in a car accident and flipped and fell out, and you're like, okay, well, once I heal, I'm back at it because it wasn't a sports related injury. That's crazy how the
it's
mind works.
crazy how that works. Like totally, I don't know.
All right, so now you're back playing. And at this point in time, if I'm not mistaken, now you're preparing to be a professional, correct?
Yeah,
So,
so I had
uh,
years of eligibility, so um I decided to come back one more to like play one more year, my like at college, at the school where they were like really supportive and kept giving me my scholarship, although I wasn't able to play, and they were just um, really involved in the whole story. So I was like, okay, I want to get back to them. I want to play for them another year, and it was yeah, it was great. It was like I felt so good just playing at this school where everything happened and the people there, the way they supported me was just like incredible. I can't even put it in words. So it felt like so like fulfilling to just play one more
yeah.
year.
Yeah, you got to end a important chapter on a good note. Where usually sometimes people don't get that privilege. It's usually like, hey, we're gonna move on, and you kind of got to figure it out. But at least you got to close that chapter the right way. That's awesome. So now take us to the next transition. What happens next?
Yeah, so then over the summer we the 3x3 national team. So that's what I always did, which was really high level basketball. So I knew if I was able to like in my body to like put that type of competition, then I can play any like I don't know, then I can like push myself to play at like the next level and go
Yeah,
play pro or something. But I did want to be close to home at that point because I was so far from home for like a long time, and so I decided then the next year to play in the first division back home. Did that for a year, and then my mind goes, okay, I don't want to play in some random country. I don't know if I'm gonna be happy. Like, basketball might be good. I don't know. Like I don't know. You never know before you go to like
it's
country. You're
true.
your contract there, maybe hopefully, and then you have to see and check it out if you like it. And in my mind, I knew like I don't know if I want to do that because I didn't know if I was going to be happy. And for me, like my mindset shifted so much from the accident that I just want to enjoy. And I know I want to be comfortable. Like I want to feel good about where I go and where I play and where I live. So for me, it was just like I love basketball, but that's what you asked me before. Like I used to identify myself as a basketball player, and then I
Yeah,
realized basketball can be taken away from me. So my focus shifted, and I was like, what is really important in life? Yes, throwing a ball into like a hoop is important for
yeah.
can be very important also to me. But I realized like life is so much more than basketball. So I was like, I don't want to play just somewhere. I'm gonna do whatever feels right, and that was traveling to Australia, and just seeing how I feel there. If I maybe want to play there, if I get the chance, and if not, then I will find a different solution or like a different option to do. So yeah, that's where I am right now, just traveling and figuring out what's next in life.
That's awesome. And how many seasons are you there so far with Australia?
But I just got here a month
You just
ago.
got there. That's what it was. Okay. And so this is a new experience, right? You're a professional athlete at this point, right? So I gotta ask. I got several questions to ask, but I always want to get into when someone gets the opportunity to make it to the top level,
Yeah.
something that you plan to do probably the moment that your mother and dad put a basketball in your hand. What was going through your mind, especially after you experienced what you had with the accident and all of that? Kind of takes us there.
Like you mean the fact that I was able to do that? Like
Yeah, like you're like, hey, I made it. I am a pro athlete, you know?
yeah. I mean, that's honestly like if you can do what you love and make money with that, that's like the best thing ever, because who doesn't want to have a job that they love? Um so it was definitely something I'm so thankful for. And like I think about it so many times when I meet other people and like people that are not athletes or from different sports. In some sports you can have a level that we as basketball players have, but like not make any money. Or like you can like there's so many different situations you can be in. So I'm just super grateful and thankful that even though as a woman in Austria, like you can't make that, like there is the opportunity to go to other places or to at least live from it. And that's just a like amazing.
You know what I notice about you? You have a very, very chilled approach on the things that you experience. You're just like, hey, I'm in this situation. I'm gonna figure out how to figure it out. Although I'm enjoying myself while I'm here. It's a great attitude to have. I wonder where that comes from, especially from you. You know, the way you started off by, like I said, having so many people in your family play the sport. And I know you said it wasn't much pressure, but there's pressure when everybody plays a sport and has an expectation. And for you to experience what you've experienced with the injury, living in different countries, to now playing sports, he's like, well, I'm grateful, but hey, it's cool.
that that's where it came from. Like I think that's what one thing that I realized. I used to be way less chilled, and then since the
Okay.
accident, it's not in my control. Like yes, how I react to situations is 1,000% in my control, but what happens to me is not. So I'm like, there's no reason in like stressing about things because like you can only control what you can do and how you react to situations. So it's like, why would I stress and not be chilled about so many things?
That's a good approach to look at it. Like the accident really just matured you and gave you perspective on certain things that just appreciate in life and where it is. Because just the fact that you were able to make a business decision like, look, I want to play professional, but I don't want to just go to a random place where most people, especially athletes from the States, may not, I don't even want to say have that luxury or that might not be an option. They're like, hey, I'll play wherever someone takes me. But you're kind of like, hey, I want to be selective. I want to play in a better environment. I want to be in a different circumstance or situation. And it actually worked out in your favor. So I commend and I respect that. I want to transition a little bit because a huge segment of my show is finance and financial literacy. So you being a professional athlete, and now you get paid to do what you do. How do you look at things from a financial standpoint? Are you comfortably living? Are you struggling? Are you investing? Where, if you could kind of, without getting too much into your business, if you could kind of take us on your journey where you're at with that.
Yeah, me personally, never like cared that much about wanting to go somewhere to make a lot of money.
Mhm.
Um, so for me, it's like if I play in Austria, like yes, I can live from it, but I cannot like do it for 20 years and then settle. Like you have to like study and do like have like a job at one point, another job. Like you can go to countries where you could make more money, but for me that was just like money doesn't matter in that sense because I'd rather, like I said before, I'd rather feel good where I am at and where I play. um yeah, so it's just like the money situation is like I want to do like other things too. Like I know I have so many like thoughts in my head of like other things I want to do that like will probably make me more money than basketball gives me money on.
That was going to be my next question. So, how are you leveraging your brand and your platform? Are you making the right connections and relationships? I mean, you are well traveled. So, are you meeting interesting people to kind of set yourself up for what's next?
Yeah, definitely it's about like connecting with other people. Like that's like a big thing. And I always wanted, especially after the accident, to like be a little bit more active on also like social media. Like I haven't because I something was just like holding me back, because I don't want to be like on my phone so much and all that kind of things was kind of like in the last years I was focusing more on like my self growth journey. But a big goal of mine is to impact other people, and I know that is by telling my story and by like having conversations like this and just trying to reach as many people as possible. And I think that's how you can grow your like social media, like your platform, the way the amount of people you can reach. So I'm still like working on figuring out what exactly I want to do with that, because I'm different in the states than like in a little bit like I think in the states they do a really good job with like having like casual conversations and like putting that onto social media and the media in general. Like I've talked to like some friends of mine who are working in the media, and they were saying it's so cool how they do it in the states, but like making athletes just seem like normal people. Back home, when we have interviews and that we like you have like a script and you have like a have this and this question, and you like answer the question, and you seem really dry and cold, and like people relate that much. It sounds like so true after you said that. I was like, yeah, that makes so much sense because I seem like then I watch myself on an interview on the TV, and I'm like, I seem like so not relatable, like to like younger kids and younger athletes, they see that and they're like, oh yeah, this is just like a professional person. It's not like, oh yeah, I can be that person. Like she jokes around. She's like has a personality, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And it's kind of like that in the States. Like I said, things are very commercialized. And I understand why, because a lot of times you're being backed by these brands that's allowing us to have these platforms because they're kind of funding things. So they always want a certain narrative to be pushed. But a lot of times what they may not understand is we want to relate to the younger generation because we know that they aspire to be us. And sometimes it's a disconnect as far as in when we're in front of these cameras and we talk a certain way or position on certain things, and the younger people are like, I don't know, it's kind of boring and uptight, and you're like, no, I'm actually a cool person if you really met me in person without the cameras. So it's kind of like toggling that fine line. I think now it was really important because the narrative is for athletes to be able to find, being able to transition for life after sports seamlessly and to find out what's next. So a lot of athletes are starting to kind of rediscover or re-identifying who they are, and diving into that. And I'm very excited to see what these athletes do in the future or who they become next. I think that's going to be the bigger story, not the story of who they are on the field or in the arena. The story that's going to be awesome is what they do and the impact that they make outside of it. But it feels like there's a little bit of a tug of war because sports is demanding and they want your attention. You know what I mean? It's like they want you to be the best, but you're like, but I also think this is cool here and I also have this passion. Are you seeing any pushback in your experience on you trying to re-identify what it is that you want to achieve next, or are they supporting those ideas from you?
Wait, who do you mean? Who is supporting? What?
The organization that you represent, that you play sports for. Sorry.
Um, I would say I mainly have like positive experience with that, like supportive, and people are telling me like tell your story, like go out
Okay.
there and impact people, and like they tell me like when I read stuff like it helps me maybe like go through like something. So that's just like it it helps me to because it can be hard to talk about any struggles somebody goes through, no matter how big they are. Like it can be hard to talk about it because you have to accept first that you are struggling or like
Correct.
that you have to go through something.
Correct. I agree. I agree. So, what are you passionate about outside of basketball?
Well, I'm very passionate about um, living my life to the fullest and to helping other people realize that we can get caught up in our work and in like all the small struggles we have, but not like forgetting how to like actually why are we living like we we're living not only in my opinion not only to work. Maybe for some people that's what fulfills them is to work every day and to like just like be caught up in that mindset. But for me, it's just more about how we feel, like what how we impact the people around us, like make other people smile and just like help them realize that like life is so much more than just one thing. No matter if it's your sport or your job or something, like life is like so like diverse. Like there's so many different things you can do, and
I agree with you. I think the struggle, and I can only relate to the states. It seems like everything out here is based off of production. What can you do? And we
mm,
kind of get caught up in that, whether it be athletics or just your regular job, produce, produce, produce. And so we almost kind of get in survival mode. You know what I mean? Very rarely you can find someone where they're doing something and they love it. So they don't mind that they're working hard, or the pressure that we might think is pressure is not pressure to them because they're in their space that they want to be. But for the most of us, it's like, all right, we find something, it pays enough for us to pay all of our bills and have a little bit of fun, but then we get wrapped up into it. And it's
yeah,
interesting because you pointed out, which is I respect the heck out of you for what you said. You was like, I want to make an impact on people on how they feel. You want people to have a full experience. I feel that here in the States, sometimes we don't even get the luxury to one, think that way, and two, be able to execute and do something within society to have that type of impact on people, you know?
yeah. Is that why you wanted, like, why you got into that what you're doing now?
That's exactly why. That's exactly why. I realized early because it was tough for me to transition for life after sport and figure out what it was that I wanted to do. But I also realized that I developed uh, um, I don't want to say characteristic, but a principle that I knew that was valuable. Me being able, my work ethic, discipline, me being ambitious, and me wanting something big. And I didn't want to let that die. But I realized that in order to be able to display that in the way that or express it in the way that I wanted to, I probably wouldn't be able to do that working for someone else. Not saying that I don't work for someone else, but that's usually not how it's structured. Usually when you work for someone else, it's like, do what I hired you to do. Forget
Right.
all that other expression stuff. If your job is to do X, Y, Z, I need you to execute that. And now that I'm older and mature, I get it. I used to have a problem with that, but I get it. You on somebody else's dime. However, I don't think that you should neglect your dreams or whatever your purpose is. So sometimes you got to work your butt off and do two things. And the reason why I didn't have a problem with doing two things, because you can attest to this, at one point in time, you were a student athlete. So you had to do schoolwork and you had to do, sports, right? So you had to kind of have two jobs. And so I was like, well, I'm already used to that. So let me go ahead and continue to do that. But the thing that makes me come alive is this, because I get to draw out the genius in people. You sharing your story, you sharing the things that you're passionate about and the things that you're working on not only makes me feel good, but I guarantee it makes people who are listening to these conversations feel good, and it gives them ideas and encourages them to kind of pursue that. So to answer your question, I would say yes.
Yeah, no, that's so cool because that's so important. Even better if three, four, two, four different things. If you have something that you're passionate about doing, it makes it so much put effort and time into something because it doesn't feel like putting effort into it. Like as
Yeah.
much. It would not as much as it would be to do something that you don't enjoy doing.
No, you're absolutely right. As for example, like I can do this all day. You know what I mean? So at some point in time, I'll probably get paid to do this all day. But to be honest with you, this kind of keeps me balanced or sane. You know what I mean? It's almost like my unplugged. Some people, when they're done or on their day off, they like to go party, go to a bar. Nothing wrong with that. I once did that when I was younger, but I'd rather do this and some
Yeah,
of the other things that I'm working on. And that makes me kind of, sane, I guess you could say, or level headed. So this is awesome to me. So before I let you go, because I do want to respect your time, I would love for you to kind of share if you have any advice for any up and coming basketball player that's going through their journey, whether they're international or they're in the states. If you can kind of give some words of wisdom or even encouragement on how they should approach being an athlete and just navigating through this world at the same time.
yeah. One big thing is believe in yourself. I feel like that's the most important thing. If you don't think it can happen, it's never gonna happen. So you gotta know that you can do it, and then no matter what's gonna happen, just work with that. Like if one door closes, like another door is gonna open as long as you are like keeping your eyes open and just like keep working. Like there's so many opportunities out there. You just gotta see and like look. The world is big. Like there's so many places out there. You just never stop believing in yourself and in what you can do, and just keep working. Like of course nothing is just gonna happen like this. Like you're gonna have to do something in order to achieve something. But I would say don't ever lose the fun and the heart, because you don't have passion, you don't love what you're doing anymore, it's gonna get hard. But as long as you love it, there like nothing can happen, because if you don't enjoy it one day anymore, then you can always go back home. You can always start doing something else. Like you don't have to do your sport for as long as people tell you you have to do sport. Like people are always going to tell you how you should live your life, but nobody lives the life probably that the exact life that you want to be living. So why would you listen to advice from someone that doesn't live the exact life that you want to be living? Like that's like one big thing I learned in the last weeks even. Like like people were trying to tell me what to do, or like trying, yeah, get an agent, you need another agent, like you need this, you need that, and I'm like, why? Like if that's what I want to be doing, just because you would be living your life differently doesn't mean that's the right way for me to live it. So find out what you personally like want to do, and if you don't know it yet, just try things out. Like it doesn't hurt to just like try things, and if you fail and if it hurts, that's part of it. Every person fails. So just keep your head up and everything will be all right in the end.
So it seems like you you follow your own advice or guidance, right? Not saying that you don't take counsel from other people, of course, but it sounds like you're an independent thinker. Were you always like that, or is that something you just recently developed?
I think I was always like that, but it definitely got stronger. Like I'm a big believer of like keep growing every year. So like there's never an end of like what things you can learn or how you can grow. Like me as a person, like I listen to a lot of advice from other people. I'm just like I think I got more selective of like what I listen to. Like I don't listen to how I should live my life. I think it's more like an option how I could go about this one situation. And if I don't like the option, I'm gonna listen to somebody else's advice and then see like what suits best for me. Um, but I think the only person that can truly know, and I don't even know myself, like I don't always know what would be the right thing, but the only person that, if anybody, could know what could be right for me is at the end of the day myself.
That's
So
true.
there's like no point in like doing whatever I don't know your family members tell you to do, or like yes, listen to them and like respect what they say, and but like don't just do it just because it was the right thing for them to do.
That's fair. That's fair. I like that. That's good advice. Well, listen, before I let you go, if you can kind of share with us where and how people can support you, definitely want to get behind your journey. When does next season start for you? Because you just
Well,
got here, right? Got there, right?
yeah, if I start playing in Australia, then not until April. But if I go back home and play there, it will be as soon as I get back home, December ish.
Okay, okay. And you kind of make a decision if that's what you want to do. But you like being in Australia right now as far as in just living, right?
Right now, I do really like it, but I don't
Okay.
know for how long. I would say.
All right, awesome. Well, yeah, like I was asking earlier, yeah, where can they find you? How can they support you? Definitely.
Yeah, well, I just have an Instagram. Um, my name Becky Kalaidiev. Other than that, yeah, that's pretty much like I don't know where I'm gonna play, so I don't know which club team I can be supported on, but yeah, that's where I.
Well, I'll definitely have them follow you and follow your journey because, like I said, you have a very unique and interesting story. Becky, first of all, thank you once again for being on my platform and allowing me to kind of engage with you and you for you to share your story. This was great. So for everyone else that's watching, this is Coach Jabo, and you just watched another conversation with an athlete. Until next time, y'all, stay positive, stay productive, but most importantly, stay in the present. And we